Okay, last time I tried to make sugar cookies, we got sick the next day. And I ended up throwing the dough away because I had not stuck it in the freezer. And yada yada yada, time went by, blah blah blah. So I'm going to make sugar cookies today. And today I'm going to try to make royal icing. Okay, let me tell you something. Everybody on YouTube makes royal icing look so easy. But last time I tried to make royal icing, I ended up in tears. So, because they make everything look easy on YouTube. I will say this, before you get started, make sure that you do not use a plastic bowl. You want to use a glass or ceramic bowl and wipe it, your spatula, and your beaters down with white vinegar first. Because if there's any fat, I've already wiped down the bowl and the spatula. I'm going to wipe down the beaters now. If there's any fat at all left on anything, any residue, then it can totally break down your meringue and your royal icing. So it's the same if you make meringue cookies. Anytime you work with meringue, you have to have a fat-free dish. And don't say, well, I washed my plastic bowl. No. Plastic is porous and this little fat molecules hide in there. You have to use glass, stainless steel, something that you can wipe down easy, not plastic. So let's see if we can do this without me crying this time. Oh, and another fun thing, everybody on YouTube that makes royal icing has one of those $400 KitchenAid stand mixers. I don't have one. That's expensive. I have a hand mixer. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of standing in one spot for a long time. Because usually people let their icing mix for about 10 minutes. That's a long time when you're doing it by hand. Normally when people do this, they use the full 2-pound bag. But I'm going to do, last time that made too much for me. For just one batch of cookies, I'm only going to make one batch. So I'm going to do the 4-cup recipe. I do not use egg whites. I use Wilton meringue powder. This is, I've heard that it does make a little bit different consistency, but I don't think enough to really worry about it. If you have people that are scared of eating like raw egg or anything like that, use the meringue powder, seriously. Okay, I'm going to use the Wilton recipe, which is 4 cups of the powdered sugar, 3 tablespoons of meringue powder, and then there are like 5 tablespoons of water, but the water amount depends. You do want to add a tablespoon at a time because you don't want to overdo it. And Wilton also does not have vanilla in theirs. So I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of vanilla. So let me open this up. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add in the 3 tablespoons of meringue powder. I think meringue powder smells really good. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so 4 cups of powdered sugar. Make sure you sift it, seriously, people. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whew. No matter what you do, if you're working with meringue powder and powdered sugar, it's going to look like it freaking snowed in your kitchen. So I try to be careful, but whatever. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add 1 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna start off with 4 tablespoons of water. As we can see, 4 is not even gonna touch it, but I just wanted to. You can't take the water out, so since I've got 4 tablespoons of water in there, I'm gonna go ahead and put in my tablespoon of vanilla, and I'm going to count that as a tablespoon of water because it's liquid. You know what? I forgot about this. I'm going to put in about a 1/4 cup, a teaspoon of cream of tartar, and the reason why is because cream of tartar helps the meringue stabilize, but it also helps it stay white, because when you use the vanilla, unless you have clear vanilla extract, which most people do not, it does kind of tint it. Now, I just see what I almost did. I almost put the cream of tartar in the freaking silverware drawer. But the more you mix it, the whiter it'll get. Shoot. I'm gonna turn this off because I'm gonna stand here and just mix for a while. I've been mixing now for quite a few minutes, and the consistency is definitely a lot better. You want it to be like a stiff peak consistency and not have a sheen to it. Mine's still a kind of a little brownish looking because I was, see how that, if I dip a spoon in it, it should stay. That's like glue consistency. So like if I was going to make a gingerbread house or something like that. But that's also the consistency that I'm going to start off with. I'm going to divide this into separate bowls so I can color it different colors. But I think the reason why is because last time I used a tablespoon of vanilla, I had actually used the full 2 pounds of sugar. This time I kind of cut the recipe in half. So I shouldn't have added a full tablespoon, I guess, but I don't care because it's going to get colored anyway. So what I'm going to do is, I don't have cookies made yet. I got to make the cookies, so I'm going to put a piece of plastic wrap down on top of this to prevent it from drying out. And I have to wash these and get this ready for cookies, so see you in a minute. Okay, what I'm going to do is roll out the dough. A lot of times people will say flour your counter. I don't flour my counter, and the reason why is because if you keep adding flour to keep it from sticking, then your dough is going to get tougher, more dense, because you're just adding flour to the dough. So what I do is I put parchment paper down on my counter. I put parchment paper for the top so that my rolling pin does not stick. And the trick to even cookies is painter sticks. I've got 2 painter sticks. These will make 1/4 inch cookies. You can do just 1 stick on each side, but these are usually free at like Lowe's or whatever. But I've taped 2 together for each one. So you want to put those right here. What they are is they're guides, and I know that they sell like rubber bands for different thicknesses to go on your rolling pin, but why spend the money? Seriously. So I've got my guides right here, 1/4 inch thick. Booyah. Time to roll. Now we have this rolled out flat and even. If you say, that kind of looks like a pain in the butt. A little bit, because it does slide around a little, but it's a lot less pain in the ass than having to stop and pick crap off your freaking rolling pin and reflour the counter and reflour the rolling pin only to end up with tough cookies. Tough cookies. Okay, anyway. I'm going to cut out my cookies. After we put our cookies on the cookie sheet, we're going to stick them in the refrigerator. If you've got room in your freezer, you can stick them in the freezer for a few minutes. The reason why we do this is because it helps them hold their shape. The reason why cookies spread out and lose their shape when you're doing sugar cookies is because they've gotten too warm. That fat's gotten warm. And do a couple more skulls here and pop. Whew, that made a little farty sound. That was kind of funny. Do a couple more skulls here and pop this sucker in the fridge. And then the rest of this dough I'm just going to add to the other batch. See how this kind of gets unruly because it's a bigger piece of dough? That's why I split the batch in half. Because if you were just trying to do a whole batch of dough at one time, it would just freaking get ridiculous. I don't think I'm going to do ghosts. I'm just going to do, because I only want to do a couple colors right now, since I'm going to be experimenting with my royal icing. So I'm just going to do some pumpkins and a couple skulls for the time being anyway. This is just practice because I want to be able to make nice looking cookies for my neighbors for Halloween. So that's why I am practicing right now. I'm going to have to save the very last bit of this because I don't have another pan. I do, but it's bad. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop these in 8 to 9 minutes, but depending on your oven, keep an eye on them just when the bottom is very, 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 very lightly brown, if brown at all. Sometimes I don't even let them fully brown. I don't want brown sugar cookies. Alright, so we'll see. Okay, it's time to pull the first batch out. They're just barely lightly brown on the bottom. Barely. Put that batch in. And it took me actually 11 minutes to cook this batch. So we're going to let these cool enough to transfer them onto a cooling rack. Alright, I'm going to attempt this royal icing decorating thing. What the hell's that? What I have to do first, these cookies are 100% cool. The other ones, I'm going to wait a little while. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of royal icing in here and try to make some orange for my pumpkins. Alright, here's a little bit of water for thinning. You want to add your color before you thin it to keep down on the amount of air bubbles. I'm going to try to use a good bit. I've got a lot of pumpkins to do here. I'm going to cover the main batch back up, make sure it's sealed away from the air so it doesn't crust up. This is the part where I kind of started crying last time because I really wanted to succeed really bad and I just did not succeed at all. I don't have orange dye, so I have to mix a little bit of red and a little bit of yellow and hope for the best. water. A little bit of water. I've got half a teaspoon thing right here. I'm going to add half a teaspoon at a time. This is actually, this would be good piping right now. That'd be good for piping. So right now this is a teaspoon and a half of water I've added. And I think for good flooding I'm going to have 2 to 3 teaspoons. But I'm just adding a half teaspoon at a time so I don't overdo it. When you pull up a spoon and it makes ribbons, you want the ribbons to totally disappear within 15 seconds. So I'm going to hold this up and hit start. That's about 20-second consistency, but I still think that'll be good. I'm really scared to add any more. I'm going to spoon this into this cup. I have in here a sandwich baggie. She will use the sandwich baggies. I hope this works because I'm out of Wilton bags, piping bags, and I'm pretty much screwed if I have to waste this batch right here. I'm going to shake that down to the bottom. Let's seal this up first. I'm going to shake this down to the bottom and get my icing together. I'm going to cut just a tiny little bit. Yeah. Okay. This is not orange enough for me. This is more of like a peach color. I'm going to outline it and then I'm going to flood this in. I do not know how to stop this from coming out, so hopefully it won't leak out too bad. I'm going to take my scribe tool, it looks like a little needle. I'm just going to swirl it around, cover up the holes. I'm going to turn the camera off and finish these pumpkins, and I'll come back when it's time to do the next stage. I'm going to let these crust over about half an hour. Okay, so I'm back after dinner, and these have been crusting for about an hour, so it's dry enough, but it's not like you can't put your finger in it or anything. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to fill in this section. Your scribe tool. You're going to get that all the way to the edge without going over, because you want that separation to stay there. You get the gist of it by letting it crust over a little bit, doing every other one, then you get the separation. So these are really actually kind of messy, and I'm not happy with the color. I need a little bit deeper orange, but there you go. And those are dry, and I'll probably let those dry overnight before I do anything else to them. The only other thing I was going to do is maybe do a little bit of green and do the stem green and do a little vine coming down. But that'll do for tonight. Alright, so thanks for making cookies with me. Thanks for hanging in there, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.